We are live. Welcome to the RedBlue Pod number 43. Yes, this week we got two because Cole wasn't feeling well yesterday. So with that being said, today it's like take number two. How are you guys doing? How are you? Starting with Cole, I guess. Or DC.
Oh, sorry.
How are you, Cole?
Pretty good. Yeah, yeah, so I guess they changed up the schedule for this, yeah, two of those CW shows. Like they were still releasing in the same week, it's just they decided to then release them a day before or something, which and conflicted with the time where, I mean, we could have still watched them, but it would be on the same day, like 5 hours before the stream, so.
Yeah. So, um, how are you, DC?
Doing average. Earlier today, I almost missed the bus ride home because I have a swimming class, and some guy took so long for some reason, and I had to run all the way. I got dressed, but man, it really shows how crazy sometimes people can be. And I thought to myself, man, the fact that this happens is just insane.
Yeah. So, well, let's start off with the topic of today. Yesterday we covered the Flash and Rocky, more like my take and DC take on it. We didn't get Cole take because obviously Cole wasn't feeling well. So we will still brush over some bullet point we had yesterday, and we will let Cole do most of the talk. So Cole, what were your thoughts on the Flash? We started with the Flash today.
Right, The Flash, season 2, right?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Honestly, my opinion on this was, kind of similar overall to season 1. I don't really know yet if I like it more than season 1 or if I liked season 1 more, yet. I think it had a lot of episodes that were better, but then I think it had some episodes that were probably weaker than every episode from season 1, in my opinion. Such as probably episode 18, episode 19. I didn't like, and some
Oh,
others.
that's very
Yeah,
interesting. You know why?
why?
I have the same take as you. I hated the guts out
Uh,
of these two episodes.
yeah, but I mean, there were definitely some great ones though. Like, again, the last episode, the two last episodes, and honestly, the four last episodes even I really liked, and then it got off to not the best start, maybe besides maybe episode 2, but yeah, after that though, it had some really good episodes. My favorite would probably be episode 6. So and I yeah, and I think yeah, I think this had better episodes than season 1, but overall rating them like together, I don't know, because there's some pretty shitty ones in episode 2 that kind of drag it down. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I kind of have like the same pros and cons. Honestly, season 1 to 3, in my opinion, with the Flash is kind of the same feeling. Definitely some better directing in this one. Unlike the newer Flash seasons, actors felt like they had a bit more freedom to act well for the most part. And some of the villains I prefer more. I'm a bit more interested in. So yeah, that's about it.
What did you think of Zoom as the villain for this season?
Oh, yeah, really love Zoom.
What is your favorite, Reverse Slash or Zoom?
Zoom for me.
For me as well. He's the perfect reflection of Barry, as we were speaking yesterday. Uh, they basically have very similar upbringing, and one turned into a villain, and the other turned into a hero, and that makes it the charm, you know. Another really interesting thing is how many people he freaking killed, and you contrast that with Red Dead, that killed nobody. He's called Red Dead, or we should say, she is called Red Dead, and she didn't kill anybody. She didn't
Why
kill
call her
anybody.
Red? Yeah, it's like, why call her Red Death, not Red Life? Because she kills nobody.
Um, Zoom, zoom, zoom. I will always remember him as being really good. Now, my take is that's my favorite season of The Flash, and that was the highest point of the show before it went all downhill. And yeah, that was just a great season for me. The ending of the season was the weak point. Um, episode 18.
Oh, you didn't like the ending?
No, I really, well, actually, when I say the ending, it's more like episode 18 to like episode 21. Episode 21 was decent, but episode 18, 19, and 20 are so rough. They are nonsense for me. Like Barry giving away his power to save Wally. It makes no sense because Zoom is a psychopath that killed people. Why would you believe that giving him the freaking speed would solve everything?
Yeah, I mean, sure, there might be some illogical moments in episode 20, but I did think that was one of the better crafted episodes still, so I would say it was one of the better ones. And then episode 21, I didn't really have much of an issue with, and then the last two episodes I actually liked quite a lot. But I mean, episode 18 and 19, sure.
Yeah, like that's a low point, and episode 22 had lots of really good stuff in it. I know DC didn't like episode 22. That's Invincible, I believe, with Black Siren
Yeah.
and stuff. Episode 23, the big master plan of Zoom was weak, but the sole fact that Zoom killed Barry Father was amazing because that really pushed Barry into doing what he should never do, which is changing the past. And yeah, this was a great cliffhanger, and this was a really good ending considering the weakest back half. I do believe the first half of the season was really the peak of the show. What did you think of Patty Spivak, the new love interest that lasted for like 10 episodes and then she left because the showrunner didn't like her? What did you think of her, Cole?
Who, sorry?
Patty Spivak, the love interest of Barry that season. The blonde detective that worked
Oh,
with Joe.
liked her overall.
I thought she was amazing. I really miss her. It's very sad we don't get to see her again after that.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, so why did they replace her?
uh, the actress got into another show, and furthermore, the showrunner at that point didn't like her. They had some kind of conflict or something. I don't really know the detail. That's only what I heard. It's like there was some conflict there. They didn't really get along, and if you don't get along with the showrunner, well, good luck staying on the show. You know. Um, that's what I heard. I don't know the exact fact, but I know she also got a role in another TV show. So both things adding up made her leave, and it's a bit sad because they had chemistry. I think Barry and her. Um, so what were you thinking about the Earth 2 storyline, episode 13 and 14?
I liked it. Yeah, I thought that those were pretty great episodes as well. Up there,
Yeah.
really into that.
I think this season had some of the best episode in the show and some of the worst with 18,
Yes.
19.
Like, yeah,
It's
like that's the issue. It's just if it had some shit ones that drags it down. Otherwise, it would be the best.
wait,
I don't know. If maybe it's always.
wait and see the next few
Uh,
seasons. So, DC, you barely spoke so far. So, is there anything you'd like to share? I know we had a in-depth discussion yesterday. So, you can share anything you'd like, or you can ask question to Cole on the Flash. DC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I had to quickly leave and come back because I couldn't hear you guys. But yeah, it's because I set my alarm because I set an alarm or a clock on my phone because I wanted to finish Panic Room. And yeah, yeah. So what were you gonna say?
So
Yeah.
we did speak in depth yesterday. So is there anything you'd like to share, or any question you would have for Cole about the Flash second season? Because we are still into the Flash second season.
Oh, none for me.
Okay, so Cole, what would be your grade out of 10 for the Flash second season? Cole, are you there?
oh shit! I said it. I was muted. God damn it. Yeah, it would be the same as season one, 5.5 to 6 out of 10. Pretty good. We'll see how the rest of it goes from there, which I'm pretty sure is not well.
Well, if you listen to DC, you will think it will go well because I think DC likes much more the other seasons. We will see. DC, what would be your grade out of 10?
I said yesterday, it was a 4 out of 10.
Yeah, and my grade was a 9 out of 10. It was really good. What really ruined everything for me is episode 18, 19, and 20. This is like many slap in the face in a row. It's like I've already seen that kind of storyline where the hero doesn't have his power, so you need to tell everyone I'm still a hero because that's what hero do. They don't need power. That's their art, art, art. So yeah, that bothered me a lot. I still hate the fact that Barry was stupid enough to give his speed away. Uh, like I can see the defense, but what's against it is just much heavier for me. And at least there's a big cliffhanger that was kind of great that redeemed Zoom. Because Zoom at the end, all he wants is to blow up everything after he killed the Barry father. So, yeah, that's season 2 in a nutshell. Season 6 is also my favorite episode this season. I think it was also DC favorite episode. Am I right? Did I recall it correctly?
It was one of them, but it was the Speed Force episode. That was for me
Oh,
the best
yeah.
episode of the season. Yeah,
Yeah, so that was 21 for you. Yeah, so I can see why. I can fully see why. So that's it for the
yeah.
Flash. I guess we can move on to Rocky quickly because here again we want to hear what Cole has to say about Rocky. So Cole, what do you have to say about Rocky?
Right. Yes. Right. Okay. So Rocky. Yeah. There were some notes I think I had down. They weren't like too much about the film, just some fun facts and stuff like the one I said on the stream before. So I'll try to find them in the middle of this. But anyway, yeah. So Rocky, I really enjoyed this film. This it came out in the '70s. It was I can't remember if it came out. Okay, well actually no, it came out in the '80s, '70s or '80s. I don't actually.
76.
Yes, it's
1976.
'76. Yeah, I don't remember if this came out before okay, yeah, it came out before Raging Bull. So yeah, this was one of the first kind of like great boxing movies on that level. And this is a pretty revolutionary for its time. Now, I don't think it's like amazing or anything as a lot of people do today. And back then, personally, uh, I just don't think it's on that level, and I do think it's, it could have been better in some areas, but for the most part, yeah, this was pretty excellent and pretty revolutionary with a lot of things. Like the entire supporting cast in this is so iconic in my opinion, and like if you watch many not just boxing films but other sports films and everything today, it copies a lot of the cast, and their characters and aspects, these days. So, and then the main character, they do a fantastic job at just building him up over time, and to somebody you think he has no chance, and they did a fantastic job with the impact of that, and also the love story and the direction was fantastic as well. I can't remember if Sylvester Stallone also directed it along with writing it. I don't think so, but yeah, he wrote it, and yeah, sold the script. Yeah, as I said last week. And yeah, this won Best Picture in 1976, if I remember correctly. Now, I don't think it deserved it. The reason it basically won at the time, though, was because people, in the 70s, after everything, people were looking for something upbeat and inspirational, with it being kind of rough for everyone during that time, after the 40s to 60s. Otherwise, Taxi Driver would have won, but nonetheless, it was pretty deserving as well, I guess. Now, the editing, for me, that is one of the bigger issues with it. The editing has a lot of rough moments and have some cuts where the same thing isn't going on in the background. Like there was many scenes where characters would be talking, and then there would be a cut that is so noticeable and distracting because there would be like cars driving by loudly that you do not hear in the scene until another cut because it was a reshoot. And it was so distracting they didn't even attempt to hide it with the sound design. But yeah, yeah, I like the subtle use of the music also leading up all the way, and from when he starts training all the way to the fight, like how it plays subtly in the background at a very low pitch and kind of pathetically, and it just keeps going higher and higher until you hear the real theme, when he is at the peak, of his conditioning and training. Yeah, I really like that. But yeah, overall, this is pretty basic, inspirational boxing love story, underdog film. Yeah, it did a pretty excellent job, I would say. Probably the best Sylvester Stallone film. And yeah, there are boxing films I like more than this, but yeah, pretty excellent overall. And we'll be watching all of them in the franchise, I guess, up to the new one that just came out this year. So yeah. But so what did you have to say about it? I mean, I know you guys probably talked about it yesterday, but
Yeah, so we won't dive too deep into it. We can say the big lines and the big stuff about it, but we won't dive too deep into it because, as I said, we covered it for half an hour yesterday already. So, do you want to start, DC, or I should start?
Mm, I I guess you can because I kind of forgot some parts.
Okay,
Um, yeah.
okay. So, for me, as usual, I will mention my issues. Not every single like, otherwise that could last long because there's a lot of things to like about the movie. My issue would be more like the pacing. I feel like the movie could have been trimmed down a little bit here and there. The runtime was quite long for what it could have been. Too much telling instead of showing. Example, Rocky telling the story of some of his injuries instead of showing fights that created his injuries. Now, I will say that was an issue for me, but later on in the movie, they did a lot of show don't tell, like when they did the deal with the manager in the street. That was amazing. Like, you don't even need to hear what they say, and you know what's going on because they shake hand and stuff. So even if sometimes there was too much telling, at other places they were fine. They did show a lot of stuff. So there's some kind of balance there. Even if I had an issue with it, it wasn't like every time, which is fine. Um, Next up, sometimes I had a hard time to follow with the accent, like the way people were speaking, some of the jargon, so some of the street talk, if I can call it that way. Um, Maybe
I mean, it
that's a
is a
me.
Philadelphian accent.
Yeah, maybe that's a me issue because I French is my first language, but
Yeah,
I did struggle
yeah. I mean, there's
sometimes.
a lot of like, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different accents in that area. I mean, there's like a Philadelphian, Brooklyn, also Italian, Irish. With each character in this film, a lot of different accents, in that area. So
Yeah. Rocky, previous friend, just being a one-dimension jerk. The brother basically. I know it was a plot device to match Rocky and the love interest, uh, but even there, I really don't like the character. I wish there was more depth to him. Even if I understand why he is in the movie, he is a bad character. Let's be honest there. Um, Now, the next issue, the sound and the volume of people talking wasn't always good. Sometimes there were scenes where I was really trying really hard, like I had my volume blasted maximum and I could not freaking hear what was going on. So maybe that's a website issue or that's really an issue with the movie. And I would not be surprised if that would be an issue with the movie because that's a 1976 movie, you know? So maybe that's really the movie.
and most of it is the. I mean, most of it is the website, I think, but also some of it is the movie, not in a bad way though, because what they were trying to do, and Christopher Nolan and other directors kind of do with the films nowadays, they make it so they like you're not supposed to like hear every bit of conversation. Try to make it like realistic. Like some noise in the background and stuff.
Yeah.
Where you can barely hear it like subtly without at least without subtle subtitles. Because it just to make it realistic and because it's not important pieces of dialogue in those scenes. I still I'm not the biggest fan of those choices they make though, but yeah, but also it, a bit of it though outside of those two things it might be the film because it's not because it's a 76 film. The reason why is because this film was made for very cheap. It was made for like let me look up like it was made for so fucking cheap. Yeah, 960,000. That is nothing with making a film.
Yeah,
Literally
that's
nothing.
right. So maybe that's why the sound
Yeah,
wasn't always top notch because the sound you need to
yeah.
pay the
Also
people
made
making the sound.
225 times back its money there.
Oh,
So that's cool.
that's
Yeah,
good.
made
That's
225 million. So yeah,
it deserves it. Um,
yeah, yeah. I think that might be like the biggest percentage of a box office film ever.
Yeah. So that's it for my issues. As I said, I won't go too deep into my likes, but I will say this: I enjoyed. I was entertained. The love story was interesting. Rocky as a character, I enjoyed him a lot. Um, so yeah, the music overall, when it was good, it was good. When it was okay, that was okay. Enjoyable movie. So, what would you add, DC?
Yeah, I think my one dislike was Paulie, the abusive alcoholic brother. I feel like his character was just there for drama, and I think they could have written him a lot better. Yeah, I think he's the one aspect of this movie that I really did not like. But apart from him, I think the movie as a whole was very enjoyable.
Yeah. So, what would be your favorite thing about this movie, DC? Because I know you liked it much more than me.
Mm. Probably that one scene where Rocky just wakes up. It's 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning, and he just gets out some eggs and he puts them up. He doesn't even cook them, and he just has them all up. And even if that way's probably gonna kill him later on, but I really enjoy that scene. I think that's probably my favorite scene. But apart from that one scene, I enjoyed some of the boxing. I enjoyed how it doesn't talk more about his boxing life. It talks more about his personal life because that's kind of the thing about it. Is because if you just had this movie where it was just Rocky after fighting one guy after another, I'm pretty sure we would be so bored at that point because it's just him fighting all the time, which I enjoy. I appreciated that it's not all about that. So that's one thing I can give credit because that's actually how it works, even if some people may not believe it. Like, some of these people who do sports actually have personal lives. So just because you don't see it on TV doesn't mean they don't have it. So it's something I enjoy about this movie a lot. Yeah. Yeah, and I enjoy some of the themes of this movie went for, kind of like what Cole said.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you'd like to share before we move on to the grades? And if Cole, you have any question, don't hesitate, man.
No, that's I pretty much said everything I think. So yeah,
Yeah, same for me as well.
So, what would
yeah.
be?
I'm gonna rewatch. Oh, sorry. Continue.
Oh, no, continue. I'm the one that cut you off.
Uh, no. I was just gonna say I'm gonna rewatch that stream from yesterday to hear more of what you had to say. So
Yeah.
that would be interesting.
Yeah, so yeah, we really spoke for half an hour both topics, so it's very detailed. That's the shortest. No, actually, we did one shorter call. One time you had something that came up in the middle of the stream and you needed to go, but like I think that was the second shortest podcast we ever did. Um, anyway, uh, my grade out of 10 would be a 7 out of 10 for average. Uh, the issues I had really dragged down the movie a lot because I don't have that many issues, but it's still 7 for me. What would be your grade, DC?
I think I gave last movie a 9 out of 10 yesterday, so it's gonna remain the same 9 out of 10 for this as well.
Okay, and you, Cole?
8 out of 10.
Oh, that's very interesting. You're like really in between. Okay, so I will mark down the timestamp here. We are done with Rocky 2700 Rocky. So the next topic would be Panic Room because I think DC has seen most of it.
Yeah, I've
You
seen
maybe
most.
have like 10-minute missing, 20-minute missing.
Yeah, yeah, around like 20-minute mark because I got to like 33 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the next topic. Before we dive deep into it, there's a side note in my notes. If the movie was made in 2023, they would have let the mother win a fist fight with Kung Fu the End.
Oh my
Just
god.
to laugh at modern movie, you know.
Well, I mean, it's kind of true, but I mean,
Yeah, you cannot say otherwise. I mean, we had Batwoman that was like 90 pound that was flipping people twice her size. That's just one example among many because that's one of the worst. But yeah, if that would be 2023, the movie would never be as good and appealing as what we got. That's like the side note I'd like to share. Any reaction or thought on what I just said? I guess not. So, who wants to start on Panic Room?
I guess I will.
Okay, you can start off with Panic Room. Perfect. Go ahead with your dislikes.
Um, I mean, I thought the movie was okay, so I have a lot of dislikes. I mean, there were some things I liked. Um, Starting with my dislikes. This film I think overused plot armor way too much. like there are many moments the mother could just call the police, yet she chooses not to. Like like the scene where she has to get the injection, she could have straight up called the police and also get the injection. Yeah, that's one major gripe because it just shows that they didn't have her do that because plot armor.
Well,
Other thing that
I have a response to it. Like, her priority was really the medication, and furthermore, she was on the hurry. Like, she didn't have the time to like
Yeah,
search for the phone and call them. Like, she was on the clock. She knew she had like a few seconds, so the priority would be
yeah.
like saving the daughter instead of just like calling the cops. Even if calling the cops could help, at the moment that the emergency was the daughter more than the hostage
Yeah,
situation.
that and also during that whole after the shot during that whole like 20 minutes, yeah, basically said call the police and she's dead.
Yeah.
So
So you can add more now that we kind of try to
yeah.
defend that.
Yeah.
yeah,
The only part I was just criticizing was how because she got her phone before she got the injection, so yeah, and that also leads to another thing I have a gripe with. The scene where she comes up with the idea of using that flame gun, whatever it's called. Um because here's the thing. Something like that would have literally ended up in flames, and that's another sign of plot armor. It's like they just didn't have the main character die because plot, and because let's be honest, if say you had like a flammable gas in your area and you fire a flame gun, pretty sure you're gonna end up in flames. So the fact that they didn't, that she survived, I was like, what?
I mean, there is, I don't know if you how that air works when it's released into like a room is it stays up top like to the roof at first for a little while before getting any further. That's why they were only like choking and stuff when they were stepping forward beside the vent.
Hmm.
So
uh,
so that's why it didn't go up in flames, and because she lit it while hiding a bit lower down, and then you could see that it caught fire on the roof but nowhere else in the room.
Hmm.
and
I get.
I have something else also to add is remember one of the guy, the smart guy in the bunch. You know which one I'm referring to, the brain in the squad. He told the others don't gas too much, so otherwise you will just simply kill them, and he was right. So we could assume it's because there wasn't enough gas to really blow up the entire room. There was still enough to make them intoxicated, and you don't need much to be intoxicated and cough and stuff because gas is really toxic, But um, I can see your point. I still don't think it's that much of a plot armor because she had that thingy to protect her, and that room was really meant to to protect people inside. And on top of that, as I said, the guy, the brain among the tree, uh, made sure there wasn't too much gas. And I'm sure if there was more, then it would have blown up the entire room, But that's also
Hmm.
near the vent. That's by the vent the gas was coming from. So if she kind of blocked the vent, most of the fire would stay on the vent, Like she's blocking the vent. And she also had that cover that protects her from the flames. So
Hmm.
here I didn't see that much of an issue, but I can understand where you are coming from.
Yeah.
That's debatable. That's like the most debatable thing we can have.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to share?
Mm, not for me.
So these are your decisive plot armor in many instances.
Yeah, yeah, I think it was just that because, and I guess another thing was like early on in the movie when the three criminals are like arguing and they're speaking loud and I don't know if you guys found this as a weird or as an issue, but I'm kind of shocked that she didn't at least hurt something because I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I know some buildings are like that where if like say some person's down like down, let's say in the kitchen, you're like in the attic. I don't think you're gonna hear it, but I still find it a little not that believable. But maybe it's just me.
Uh,
In what way? You mean how she didn't hear they were arguing? What?
Yeah, like I like you know how the early on in the movie when the three guys break into the house, they were like arguing and yet I was wondering if you guys found it as an
Oh,
issue as to how the mother.
oh, well, no. They kind of established that house, like, was pretty big, and it was kind of soundproof and upper levels, and they weren't like yelling through the roof. I mean, anytime they did that, then you could hear them, and in certain
Mm,
places they were in. But also, again, they were asleep at the time, and I mean, it's hard for even if there's like talking going on. A lot of people, when they're in a deep sleep, it's kind of hard for them to wake up.
mm,
And besides waking up themselves just randomly, and then she heard them while she was awake. So
I guess.
but yeah, they were not screaming. Later on in the movie, they clearly scream, but at the point early in the movie, the point you're mentioning, they were whispering. They were not that loud, and as Cole said, the
yeah,
house was really really big, and the bigger the house, the less likely you will hear it. Like if they would speak louder, of course they would hear you. But me, I will give you a good example. Where I live is it's not that big, but I'm on the second floor, and there's a fan by me, and like someone can talk to me downstairs, and sometimes I won't even hear them, and it's not that soundproof where I live because it's basically my second floor is basically a studio, so I just remove my I forgot the name, my there's some kind of sheet in there's some kind of sheet I can move, and I see downstairs. It's like, by a window, sometimes you have sheets. I forgot the freaking name of that. You place sheets by windows to cut the light. What's the
Curtain?
name?
Is
What?
it
Yeah,
curtains?
yeah, something similar like that. Curtain, maybe. So I basically have curtain, and I just take out the curtain, and I can see everything downstairs. So I'm not that soundproof, and I can tell that sometimes I don't hear what's going on downstairs. And in a very big mansion like that, I mean, that house had what, 3 floors, 4 floors that we know about? Yeah, I think it was believable,
Mm.
that they
yeah.
didn't hear
Like
these
honestly,
people.
throughout this film, I am pretty shocked. Like, 'cause I thought there would be like plot armor or plot holes in this, like a handful, but honestly, like there might be like one or two that are kind of impossible not to be plot holes in a premise like this. But overall, I mean, I couldn't really see, because I really couldn't see any. Because I mean, any moments where I think that they're gonna have the character do something stupid, or have it where that she somehow doesn't notice something. They then don't. They then do show it, and then how they explain it makes total sense. And anytime throughout the film where I'm like, why didn't they do that, or why didn't the burglars do this, or why didn't the main character do that? They then show it later on, and they have a good explanation for why they didn't do it earlier. So honestly, I can't even really think of like many plot holes or plot armor moments with this film at all. I think they did a
Mm.
really good job at all that. I mean, for me, this wasn't the. This is kind of, in my opinion, David Fincher's one of his weakest films. Not in a bad way. I still think it's pretty great. I just just not as memorable or impactful as his other films, in my opinion, but or as well made, maybe.
Yeah.
But when it comes to just being a constructed film, though, it is pretty fantastic.
I think the writing and the story and the movie itself is well written. It's a solid movie, and um, if you don't have any other issues, DC, I can move on. But do you have any other issues, DC?
No, I think it was just that. But even then, you guys made some pretty good points. Maybe I just didn't thought of it the same way like you guys did. So, guessing that's why. But yeah.
But that's fine, DC. Like, don't hesitate. Don't be shy about that. That's the point of the podcast, having different point of view, and you always
Yeah.
bring something interesting, even if we have counter argument. Like even Cole did that sometime to me, and it's fine because that's the point
No,
of it,
no.
you know.
Anytime one of us brings up an issue with something, be free to counter it if you can think of a counter thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Right after we speak.
yeah,
That might be a
exactly.
bit, that might be a bit of a problem for me, and that's why I sometimes I think out of the three of us, I speak the least because
Yeah. Yeah, no, we can go back and forth. It's fine.
yeah, it's just
Yeah,
I have some really bad anxiety, and yeah, it can even happen with online friends. But yeah, that's just for me, but it won't be a problem.
D-
Hopefully,
don't
yeah.
hesitate. You know, like I remember sometime I even marked down question marks in my notes so we can have like some kind of discussion about it to see if I'm crazy about something. You know, that's how I go on with some of my notes. So don't hesitate, man. If you find we got one, if I got an issue, and you don't see why, don't hesitate to ask, man. Don't
All right,
hesitate. Don't be shy. You're part of us, and I already said it. In the past, Cole debunked some of my issues I had with stuff, and we still get along. Do we, Cole?
yeah. Oh god.
So, um,
Yeah.
my two issue. My first one would be the pacing. I thought early in the movie, it took a long time to start. I feel like in the first few minutes, like the before the burglar are really there, even when the burglar were there, I thought there was a lot of scene of just them doing their shenanigans to try to enter. Like I would say like the first 20 minutes to half an hour could have been cut down. How much I'm not quite sure, but I think that's something that's a David Fincher thing because I feel like I bring up pacing like in most of the movies he did so far. That's just he likes to
Uh,
take his time.
I mean, I thought it was kind of. I thought it was the opening went by pretty quickly. I mean, considering you have to set up the characters in the entire house layout and then the burglar scenes, in a realistic fashion. And, he basically did that all in just like 15 minutes. I mean, I didn't really have a problem with it personally, but.
Yeah, yeah, and I kind of agree with Cole on this. I can see your points though. Even I felt it took a while, but
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it wasn't like 5 hours long until the burglaring started.
Yeah.
For me, like 10, 20 minutes before it happened. But yeah, I could still see your points though.
So my second issue is more a character driven issue, character writing issue, and it's later on, or I should say overall in the movie. Uh, the guy, the brain. When I mention the brain, you guys know which character I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
Yeah.
the
Burnham.
guy that worked for the agency that set up safe and that knows how to break into safe. That's the brain when I speak about the brain, right? You guys uh, know him as.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
I know.
so the guy is shown in many places throughout the entire movie as being very, very smart because he makes sure that the people inside the safe don't die. If he let the others do their thing, they would have died inside. Or if he did let the others do whatever they wanted, maybe the room itself would have collapsed on them and stuff when they were trying to break it with the sledgehammer early in the movie before they decided to use the gas and stuff. So in many instances, the character is shown to be smart, and here's the issue: the guy is smart only to find ways to get the money, not to get rid of the killer, because it was clear that this guy was the most gray of the three. He wasn't willing to kill anybody for that, and he didn't get along with the killer. And when I speak about the killer, the bus driver. That when I speak about the killer, it's the bus driver, the guy that brought the pistol with him.
Raul, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly, Raul. Um, so you're telling me the guy is very smart to think about breaking in and not arming the people, but is not smart enough to, like, I don't know, get rid of Raul, because it was clear that they didn't get along. Uh, like, yeah, it was clear they would have an issue, and he just let that issue happen throughout the movie. It just didn't sit well. Like, at some point, the stupid of the three, I will call him the stupid of the three, decides to leave. He decides to leave, but the killer kills him in front of the smart guy. And at that point, I am like, the smart guy should kind of know that Raul is willing to kill anybody once he get what he wants, or if he doesn't get it this way. So why doesn't the smart guy try to think his way out of it, and capture or incapacitate the killer? Because at that point, it's clear that the killer is willing to kill anybody.
Well, I,
yeah,
I mean, I think he kind of knew the whole way through, even at the start of the film, that this guy was sketchy. Probably had a weapon, probably was like a hardcore criminal, pretty sus and with the mask and stuff. But I mean, you have to remember he's the one with the upper hand with the gun the whole way through. So I mean, he had to try to buy his time, or just try to get out of there surviving without him pulling shit was the best way to go. Because if he tried to do that, he probably would have been killed, because he did have the upper hand the whole way through. Frost or just keep him at ease.
Yeah,
yeah.
the
And in my defense, I feel like it's kind of believable because, for instance, say if you were in, let's say all three of us were criminals, and let's just say one of us had a weapon, and after we do it, like it's basically your fear kind of kicks in, and you're gonna do what you're gonna be told because you don't obviously want to die. So I can still understand your
yeah,
point. It's just I think when you have a weapon and you're threatening someone, your anxiety and the fear just kicks in more and more. So
yeah,
again, I understand your points, but I'm just pointing out like if you like let's just say you met someone with a weapon, your fear would take in. So
yeah. That's a good point.
yeah,
That's a good point. I still thought it wasn't that consistent, because he was smart for things, but he wasn't smart for others. But that's more an inconsistency in the character that I found. But I can see where the both of you are coming from. So, Cole, what would be your issues with the movie?
To be completely honest, I don't really have possibly any issues with it personally. On a storytelling, plot armor, etc. level, I think they did a fantastic job of all that for the most part, and realistic job. Even when I thought there wouldn't be at points. I don't know. At anything, maybe, if anything, maybe, how do I say, maybe it was a little, they could have maybe done like more, how do I say, the burglars could have maybe, I feel like, okay, I can't really think right now, honestly, with what I'm trying to say, but
there's something like earlier in the film when the burglars start trying to get into the locked room, and I feel like not the idiot, but the other two characters really should have been smart enough to know earlier in the film that some of the things they were attempting wouldn't work, and not just the not the ones where like like the one character will say that's not gonna work, but the other ones tried anyway. But other points where it's like they figure out how to do things later in the film, but there's really no reason why they shouldn't have known that earlier in the film, in my opinion. Outside of that, though, yeah, I don't really have any issues there. And when it comes to any acting or filmmaking issues, I think it's yeah, I not really any issues per se either. I just think it might be kind of like probably David Fincher's possibly his weakest. I mean, besides Alien 3, when it comes to just like a filmmaking, acting, etc. level, just the craft of it. Uh, yeah, it was still pretty greatly made. I mean, but still like weaker than all of his others, I would say, such as The Game and Seven and Fight Club. But yeah, that's all I really have to say. And nothing else.
Okay. So I guess now we can dive deep into what we enjoyed. And here's another side note I decided to add after I read that. The main character's sadness shown in the bad scene. Side note, if that was made in 2023, women cannot be sad. They must remain strong. Let's trash Hollywood a little bit. You see, showing a character trait like sadness makes your character much more relatable.
Yeah, and if this was in 2023, then there would be a plot twist where the guy in the mask is actually her ex-husband.
Yeah.
Because that would be 2023 in a nutshell. Anyway.
Exactly,
know,
Cole.
right?
You got it right.
Yeah.
So, the main character's sadness shown in the bad scene was just very interesting. I like when movies do that because now they tell you the character is not perfect, and that movie I think is listed as a drama. So having that character being like torn by the past is very interesting. We need more characters like that. They are relatable. The perfect people that live the perfect life. First of all, they don't exist, and second, we cannot relate because they don't exist. So stop trying to make your character perfect. Your character can have its moment of weakness, and it's fine because the idea of a movie is to lift up the character after giving that moment of weakness. So, next up would be the people trying to enter bring some mystery because at first you don't really know what they want because they're like, okay, they clearly want something. It's probably linked to the safe place, but you're not quite sure at that point. And it's very interesting that gives some kind of suspense to what's going on there. Uh, the smart guy, my favorite character of the movie, he wants to leave when he realizes there's a third person in the part when that third person was part of the deal. And at that point, I was really hesitant because he decided to stay for the plot to happen. But I was like, okay, let's say some people do react like that. At first, they are not like comfortable, and then they finally accept because they realize, oh yeah, there's a lot of money there. That was probably money the thing there. Um, Next up would be Raul was very interesting. At first, he was a man of the few words. He barely spoke, and I like that kind of character. You get to know him throughout the movie, and at some point he has much more dialogue. Actually, half through the movie, up to the end, he has much more dialogue than like the first 40 minute ish. And that's very interesting because when you introduce a character, you don't need to tell us a big backstory. Like, you can tell a story within the movie, and you can let things happen slowly. Like, that character was Raoul character, the one with the mask, was basically some kind of slow burn. At first, he is that mystery guy that is sketchy with the mask and everything. He is sus. You're like, that's suspicious, you know? And as you get to know him, man, you're damn right about your suspicion. That's a freaking cold killer. Um, Next up would be the girls reaching the panic room in time. I thought that was well done because that was a pursuit that happened throughout many floors with an elevator and stuff. That made sense. That was very grounded. They didn't really outrun the criminal, they outsmarted them. Um, the brain of the team is my favorite character. I already mentioned that. Using the fire and gas to create a cocktail and blow up stuff. I enjoyed that because that was logic. Um, there was also some of the dialogue that was funny throughout the movie. I can't remember exactly what, but I think throughout the movie there are a few things that made me laugh. The divide in the group being created after the safe blew up. That was good. I enjoyed that divide that now the brain is like placed apart and the brain kind of figured it out that the other two they don't consider him as equal, they just consider him as some kind of tool. And I feel like at that point that's the point where the brain guy should have just left. That brings back to my issue. I just feel like at that point he knows there's a divide. Why do you stay with them? There's a divide clearly that is being created at that point. Um, Next up, the mother going out since the three criminals are into a fight. The girls mixing the wires. The phone call. The child actor was fine. Usually with child actor, we never know. Sometimes it's really bad. Sometimes it's actually surprisingly good. And she was fine. She wasn't
Yeah.
the best
Yeah,
part of it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, sadly, this was probably her best her best performances in her career. You know, if you want to look at what she did after this.
Really?
I mean, you do know who the actress is, right?
I don't recognize her.
Oh yeah, cause she was younger, a kid. But I mean,
What role?
it
What big
was
role did she get?
uh, she was the lead actress in Twilight.
Oh my! I haven't seen Twilight. I
Yeah.
only heard bad stuff about it. And the premise of it doesn't
Oh yeah,
interest me.
it is embarrassing. Yeah, it's again Kristen Stewart.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean she has been getting better recently though. She's let's say she was pretty good in Certain Women and Spencer, but yeah, still those is probably like a top 5 performance though out of like 50 films she's done so far, because the majority of her films have been as bad as Twilight.
But that's funny because I think that's mostly the direction because she doesn't have that much dialogue. She is most likely going to bounce off her mother most of the time. And she's also a teenager that is very close stuff, and a lot of teenagers that are close stuff are like that. So maybe she was actually playing herself. So that's why maybe she was fine. As I said, she is not the best actor. She's not the worst. She's just fine. I liked her role to bounce off on her mother and her father and yeah. Raul killing the third member. So I was like, oh my, he really did it. That was some kind of shocking moment that actually made sense. It's not a shocker for the sake of making a shocker like the boys tend to do a lot. It's really a shocking moment that actually adds up with the cycle that the cold killer is. Um, the situation becoming a stage situation, the father, them switching stage thug. I can't remember. Uh, Both criminal in the safe. So and the mother getting the gun was also very interesting. She got the gun at some point, and oh yeah, the fight scene was actually smart because that was dark, and she used some kind of surprise attack to get the gun and get the best out of Raul, and that actually makes sense. I'm very critical when it comes to women fighting men because let's be honest, they are not fighter. Even some men are not fighter, but men in their genetics they are made stronger. So it's just natural for them to be just physically stronger. And I repeat myself a lot because I don't want to sound sexist or anything. But I know some girls that are stronger than me, and it's normal. But that's not your average girl that can just lift a man and stuff, that can overpower men like that. It just doesn't add up. Because genetics, and the fact that she used the door, and that was believable. The fight choreography when she was involved with the others, she didn't went into a fist fight. She tried some sneaky surprise attack, and that makes sense. This is how women can win fight, by using their brain. And I was fine with her getting the gun and stuff because it made sense. Like, she bashed the door on the guy. Really enjoyed that. And we need more of that in modern cinema to keep it believable. So the mother telling them to save the daughter. The main character trying to help the father when he was really injured. The cops were very, very likable. I enjoyed the cops. Like, we have like maybe 5 minutes with them, and they are amazing, and they are very different. One is really like invested and he really wants to help out, and the other is like, yeah, maybe she doesn't need help and stuff. I really like that scene a lot, and I was like, is it all they will solve everything? Because that was like in the last 30-ish minutes. You have seen the cops scene, right, DC?
Yeah, that's the one part I saw. So
Okay, so yeah, that was a really good scene. So since that's when you stopped, I will basically tell what's going on after, and that's like a lot of things that I actually liked. At
I
that
actually
point,
got I actually got a little later. It's when the criminals were opening a safe. That's when I kind of had to stop. So
okay, so basically what happens after the cops, the mother decides to break all of the cameras, and then it's funny because the criminals are actually very self-aware, and the movie is also self-aware of one of the issue some viewer may point out at, and the criminals are like, why didn't we thought about it, just breaking all of the cameras? They look at each other, they're like, we feel dumb now because the mother is actually doing it. She break all the cameras. That was a standout moment of the movie because that's a sign that they really thought about their movie, and they wanted to leave the least amount of plot hole they could. And this is all
I
you
love
do.
that they did that.
Yeah, they needed that, and it's freaking smart. If they didn't do that, maybe some people could pick it apart and say the people making the movie are dumb, or the characters in the movie are dumb. But they did that to tell us, look, we are self-aware that some people may not think about it, but the mother did thought about it. The injured father with the aiming made sense. Now, I am very critical when it comes to gun action, firefights, when people can't freaking aim. But here, he was injured, he was sick. It made sense that he could not aim properly. He wasn't top shape. And he is not a trained person. it's probably the first time he holds a gun, and he's really injured. He got beaten up, roughened up really hard by the thugs. So here, this is how you use guns. At no point I thought the gun should have killed someone because he doesn't aim, because he's injured. It made sense for me. After that, we get another like big fight between the mother and Raul, and here I was like, I hope she's not coming on top. She's about to freaking die on the carpet there, and the brain guy decides to come back. He saves the day, and he's the one that blows up Raul Brain. Um, I was glad about that because it made sense. The mother was about to get killed. She was on a very, very weak situation. Now, some of you may call it plot convenience or plot armor, but I thought it made sense, and here's the reason. Throughout the entire movie, the brain had doubt about what he was doing, and he knew what he was doing was wrong, and he didn't want to hurt or kill people. He just wanted the money. So the fact that he came back to help out, to kind of redeem himself, was amazing, and it made sense with the character, because throughout the movie we could tell he's not like Raul or the other, because the other was like any mean necessary, and Raul was like, I don't care if I kill people. So Raul and like the third guy that died, they were very similar. The big difference is like Raul from the get-go is willing to kill people, and the third guy at first he didn't want really to kill them, but he was like, if we need to, we need to. So the fact that the brain guy decided to come back made sense, and him saving everyone was great. It was really the perfect ending. And if it's 2023, side note again, there's no way a man would save a woman. Because
Wow.
women cannot be weak. So,
Wow.
what did you say, DC?
Oh, I just said wow.
But I'm right? I'm right.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like wow. Guessing movies really need to have more abusive relationships then, because wow, if women can't get hurt, then I don't know what will.
So,
Right.
these are my likes. These are my dislikes. What are your likes? I guess DC, because I did speak a long time. What would be the things you liked about this
Yeah.
movie?
And I'll just say right now, I pretty much said all mine, so DC can just
All
go.
right.
Okay.
All right. So some of my likes were that I enjoyed the tone. I feel like it was very very dark. I liked how it wasn't like how you sometimes point out, like really if this was a modern day, every they would make some stupid movie references. So I like that they keep it at a very dark pace. I enjoy the setting. I enjoy the claustrophobic like feeling. And I enjoyed the theme of this because breaking and enterings are stuff you don't hear about all the time. And really, I'm not sure if you guys watch like Mr. Nightmare horror stories, but they actually talk a lot about this kind of stuff. And yeah, they did disturb me because I realized how common it actually was. And even I sometimes have a feeling that there is something's going on. But yeah, for the most part, I do enjoy the theme. Um, I wouldn't even say this is like a bad movie. I really wouldn't say. I think it's just average because of my main issues. But even then, um, you guys cleared some things out for me. So yeah, yeah. I think I said all my positives.
Okay. Starting with, I think I will be the one that liked the movie the most. So starting with DC, what would be your grade out of 10?
A 5 out of 10.
Oh, interesting. And you, Cole? What would be your grade out of 10, Cole?
Yeah, sorry, 1 second. I'm just pulling up my thing to see if I got this correctly. Okay, yeah, I did. Yeah, my grade would be a 7 out of 10, or around that, or like a 7.5. It is, again, it, very, very, very good. And I mean, if we're talking about just like a film constructing level and like writing level and making sure everything's like polished, it is fantastic. I just think that out of David Fincher's entire filmography, this might be his weakest besides his Alien film. When it comes to just filmmaking and everything, all those aspects, I feel like the other ones he's done are a lot better. But there's only one that would maybe be a front runner to maybe be weaker, which we'll be talking about in the same week if you want to guess which one that will be. But
So yeah, my score would be a 9 out of 10. And in recent days, I remember giving a lot of 9 out of 10. I think this one is somewhere in the middle. Like, among all of the 9 out of 10 we did, somewhere. I like that one much more than both Predator movie. Much more. So maybe it's like actually a bit weaker than John Wick. I just have that huge crush on the first John Wick movie. I enjoyed the crap out of it. I think I will actually just rewatch it just for fun eventually soon, someday. But yeah, Panic Room for me is a 9 out of 10. So any closing thoughts with this movie?
not for me.
Same for me.
Okay, so I guess we covered every topic that DC was able to watch. So, is there anything else you'd like to share, DC?
Uh,
Okay. Thank you very much, man. As usual, you are a great member of this podcast. Thank you very much for your time. And yesterday was very fun, and today as well. And today was even more fun because now we are three, the number we should be, always. um, so anyway, thank you very much, DC. Um, is there anything you'd like to plug with your channel and stuff?
uh, no, I don't really have any videos coming out. Probably this entire year, so until maybe next year. Yeah.
Okay. So man, thank you very much. Have a good night, man. Take care of yourself, and speak to you soon.
All right. Same. You too.
So, next topic. In the list, I marked down Zodiac, but I think we should move on with Social Network, because the Zodiac, actually I've seen it more recently. So,
Nice.
Social Network. I've seen all 5 movies, by the way. Uh,
Yeah.
and and I will say this: things happens. I got fired from my job, and that's shit.
Oh.
And that's not even for a good reason. Like, I'm a security guard, and I do my job, and I take it seriously. There are rules, you need to follow them. And these reached hard the client, basically, because I was
Oh.
working in a...
So they think you're going too far because they didn't have the right shit, and you stopped them. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. They break the rule, I let them know it's wrong, and they complain because they're rich and they think people must serve him. And the funniest thing in that, they were not even the one paying for security there. Like, they're basically tenants, and the owner of the place don't even pay for the security. That's the syndicate. And the syndicate,
Jesus.
it's like diminishing money. Like, it's hilarious. So I got many complaints because I follow the rules. And I don't give a shit about your money. We are all equals, but no, because they got money, they think they are superior. So I got fired because they don't like security guard that do their job. Uh, Lucky me,
Wow.
I actually got a lot of callback because I got experience and I've been working in security for many years, so they are kind of
Yeah.
happy
Well, I
when they
mean
see.
that's great though. Yeah, that is great though to know that like you have had this experience working with like top, like I'd say, top class people like that. So you have a easier job getting amazing opportunities like that continuing. I would just let them know though, like in your future jobs, basically how in situations you got fired and explain to them how, and to try to say like because just to try to make sure this doesn't happen again. Like I'm gonna follow all the rules. I'm gonna do it strictly, no exceptions. So if people bitch and complain, all right, I'm not doing my job poorly.
And furthermore, what I can tell them is, if you don't want your rules to be followed, don't hire me. That's as simple as that. Like, I can set boundaries. I can tell people, look, I take my job seriously, and I'm really pissed because I like the team. Like, my coworker were great, and they were all disappointed that I leave because I made everyone's job easier because I actually follow protocols and stuff. So everyone didn't believe it when I got fired. They're like,
However,
really?
their loss.
Yeah,
That's all I'll say.
and the funniest thing in this, that company struggled to fill all of their contract. So not only they will struggle
Hmm.
even more, but they needed me more than me I needed them, you know? I was with them because I wanted the money, you know, but I can find the money elsewhere. I don't care. Will they really find agents? I mean, they keep firing everyone, so at some point they won't be able to hire anybody anymore.
Yeah, basically, and shit. Well, yeah, whatever. Again, their loss, I guess. But
So I got
yeah,
fired
honestly,
because I did my job.
yeah, this shit kind of reminds me of this. Again, you probably haven't seen the show. Maybe we'll watch that one time on a stream, that in Breaking Bad. But God, that reminds me of that Better Call Saul show, and how the first few episodes like follows the main character and the security guard, and the security guard is very strict. So he's like, you need 7 stamps to park here. He's like, come on, I got 6. And he's like, nope,
Seven.
sorry, get your 7 stamps. Because in the first few episodes, just every day he would come like 50 times without the right stamps, and he'd be like, every time, just come on, let me through. It's fucking 6. He's like, nope. And then he
That's
tries to pick a
me.
fight with him and gets his ass kicked by him.
That's me in a nutshell, bro.
Yeah.
But it's midnight. Yes, it's closing at midnight, so it's closed now. Get out.
Hmm.
So yeah. So because of that, I have time to watch every single movies. So let's go over Zodiac. Or no, Social Network. Yeah, Social Network.
Right. Yes. Social network. So, is it? I know. And so a lot of them this week were kind of biopics, and I don't know if you're a big fan of biopics, but anyway, I like old movies nonetheless. But yeah, I really love this film, The Social Network, and honestly, even though David Fincher is more known for his dark thrillers like Seven and Fight Club and such the most, and then those are considered kind of his best by a lot of people. I kind of think this might be his best film. I really love this. I think it's also just it's super well crafted, one of the best. Just like if I have to pick like films out for just like the best basic dramas ever, this would probably be one of them. The performances were all fantastic by Andrew Garfield, Jesse Eisenberg, just everyone involved there. The story was very compelling. How they, turned the real life story of this and yeah, made it this compelling was fantastic. All the music was fantastic. The writing was fantastic. The production design, I just love all of it and the direction as well. I don't really have any complaints really, and but yeah, this did get a lot of nominees. Didn't win anything, I believe. But yeah, I mean, probably should have won Best Picture that year. But, the Academy has a bias though against like different like newer topic films. Like this was a pretty new topic at the time. Facebook just reaching its popularity in 2009 and 2010 when this film came out, and had a cast of younger people. So of course it didn't really win anything, but yeah, probably should have. But yeah, I really love this film. I don't have too much to say about it though, just because this was one. Yeah, I didn't revisit because I already seen it a few times. So I would have to like rewatch it still though to like to detail, with like details scene by scenes. But nonetheless, yeah, those are love this. Nonetheless, so yeah, anyway, you can go now, I guess.
So, I enjoyed it. So, I have two issues. The first one, the long run after the bar scene went for too long. What was the point? Seeing the credits and people making the movie. I thought like you could have trimmed down that. I was like, if the movie is going to be like
Wait,
that,
wait, what? Of what?
huh?
Of what exactly? Of what
Early in the
scene?
movie, the movie basically started off with a bar scene, and the bar scene was amazing, and then
Mm-hmm.
after that, because the bar scene didn't go well for the character, even if it's a good scene, like it didn't go well for the character. It basically the girl he was dating broke up with him, and she left, and he left, and you just see the character coping by running for like 5 minutes. He ran for like 5 freaking minutes in the movie,
Well,
not
I mean, I think,
movie time, like
I mean,
not
I think that was more to show like the setting and everything. And again, that's like what a lot of people do in like university and college. And again, it was just to show basically the surroundings of the place that you're gonna visit for the next like 30 minutes of the film, kind of which they did later on in the film too. It was sort of just like to also like show like the position he was in prior to the website and his and everything and becoming rich. It was supposed to show like sort of like how if, in Rocky, you see him like in the open and jogging around, walking around, after a fight, just like beat up and everything, and kind of like in a poverty area neighborhood and kind of out of breath, just seems washed up. See him walking for like 5 minutes, with the credits, and then later on in the film, you see his new points. I think that's what it was kind of going for. What you mean though, now that I remember it, yeah, it was kind of just it wasn't really needed, but I mean, it was kind of just like a credit, nothing scene, kind of, but I mean, it was kind of it was well done, it was well filmed, and I mean, it wasn't too long, so I didn't mind it.
trim this shit down. So my next issue is much later in the movie. At some point, they are apparently, I say apparently because in fact I don't think they were, but apparently they were speaking French. And the French was so terrible that I needed not only to rewind but to be told by one of the characters they are speaking French. And French is my first language. Okay. A lot of movie use French, and other language, and I'm critical when it's bad. And here it was bad. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's decent. I give it the praise. I see the respect and all, but that's not French. But they said it was. What did they do to that wonderful language?
Uh, I mean, what was it? Which scene were you talking about specifically during the film?
That was like in the middle. Like at some point, the guy that that doesn't want to advertise says he basically wakes up with bed with a girl he barely knew from a party the day before, and they were basically speaking back and forth, and at some point the girl decides to speak French, and then the guy says, "Oh, it's French," and then he responded apparently French. That's like the guy that replaces Andrew Garfield character. I don't know any of these characters' name, but that's basically the character that
Yeah, it
replaced.
was Andrew Garfield. You know.
That wasn't Andrew Garfield. That was the guy that replaces him in the role in the company later on in the movie.
Oh, okay.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about,
Okay.
right?
Well, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I see your flaw there. I mean, yeah. There are points in films where stuff kind of happens, and I wish, yeah, it would be done better. You know, that's kind of the case in like older films as well, because when they a lot of older English films when they didn't really care much about other languages, but it was also had an issue with that kind of in Wes Anderson's one of his films, which yeah we might watch his films one day. Isle of Dogs, where be characters talking in Japanese, but there'd be no subtitles for it, and I hated it. I wanted to see what they were saying,
But
but yeah, and there
here's
are.
here's the thing. The
What
my,
I will say though, what I was, oh, yeah,
my issue was the fact that the French they used was so terrible. I didn't recognize that was French, and I'm born
yeah,
speaking
because again,
French.
they don't do a good job with it.
It's
They
like
don't do a good job with it, but
if your actor doesn't speak French, if your writer doesn't know how to spell French, if your staff doesn't respect French, don't use freaking French, please.
yeah, I mean, I will say though, I mean, there are different countries that speak French, and there are ones that kind of speak it like uh, pretty differently. And this kind of happened the same way too. With like there was this Japanese friend I knew, and he reacted to like this animation video where on YouTube where the characters were supposed to be speaking in Japanese, and they were, but he couldn't really understand anything because it was a whole different type of Japanese. So I mean, it's so that's possible. Or another way that's thing that's possible is maybe they were doing that for comedic relief. Like they knew they weren't really actually speaking French for real, and that was maybe like a joke. Like you just her saying that shit, so he's like, oh, and then does that like sarcastically as well. I don't know.
I
So
think
that's a
that's the
possibility.
joke.
Otherwise,
Yeah, that's the joke route because
yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah. Okay, so if that's the case, then it's not a flaw. If it is, then it's a flaw. But yeah, I would have to like read up on it to see if it's a flaw or not, or if that was intentional.
Because here's the thing, French. There's like four big French that I know. And there are a few different variants, but here's the thing: each variant is very close. Like there's the France French, and like there's different French accents in France, like from Paris, from Nice, from every cities there, you know. But they are all so similar that like the few differences, the usage of some of the words. So when they speak, whether they are from Paris or from Nice, you know it. And the second type of French is where from where I am. It's Quebec. It's like from Canada, Quebec, like the French part of Canada, you know. And even here as Quebecer, we have a lot of French, like Paris and Nice, you know. We have like maybe like 4 or 5 different type of French, but we are all similar. We are all in the Quebecer type French. So someone speak to us and they speak French, they can recognize we are from Quebec, you know, or Canada and stuff. And the third French would be international French, and this is like the one that is used the most in movies. It's like standard French where you cannot say it if it's from Canada or France because it's like a clean French. Like you pick up a dictionary or something, you pick up translation and stuff, it will be international French. And there's the fourth one that is more African Asian because a lot of these countries also speak French and Creole and stuff. And their French is different, but it's more of a mixture of English and French. And it's more like Asian and African people that speak it. Because they're born there and that's how they speak because they mix up language sometimes. And these are like the four big ones. And in the movie, none of these four was shown. Uh, so if that was a joke in purpose, good work. But if they try to showcase that person education, that person knowing French, it failed miserably because I cannot pinpoint which of the four French it is this. I didn't even know that was freaking French. So yeah, that's the
Yeah,
one
I
tangent.
looked it up. I looked it up, and it was intentional as a joke.
Well, actually, I didn't found it funny because I didn't get it. So it's still an
Yeah.
issue for me.
Well, okay.
So, what would be your issues?
I don't really have any issues. If anything, maybe okay, maybe there could have been God, how do I say? Could have been maybe more scenes at different times of the day, maybe, and to mix it up. Be a bit too much like daytime scenes, if anything. I don't know if that's really an issue though. And then just not an issue that removes any points. Just something that I would maybe like to see instead. If I would have to say any issue, maybe the Rowan scene, as great as it was and as amazing the music was, you can maybe say it didn't really belong in the film like that. I don't know. You can maybe bring that up as just like feeling out of place maybe, but yeah. Outside of that, I don't really have any issues. It does amazing with everything else.
Okay, so, um, there's a lot of things I liked. I enjoyed a lot this movie. The opening scene at the bar was really interesting. The main character was very interesting. Uh, so it was hilarious because he is socially awkward, and I feel like maybe he is autistic, but I may be wrong on that. Maybe that's just the performance, or the actor, or the character. I don't know where exactly, but that's not a negative thing. I mean, if it's well depicted, maybe I'm judgmental here as well. I don't know, but I think he was very calculating everything, and he wasn't able to like spot on literal thing like um figure of speech. It didn't really understood figure of speech. If you know what I mean, like it's really hard for me to explain, but the way he was speaking, it's like you cannot really make joke because he will not get the joke because it's like he doesn't get it. He's just not made to understand joke. Do you know what I mean? Cole, are you there? Cole. Cool. Your mic is on mute if you speak. Cool? Cool? Is it a me problem? Or is it a cool? Maybe his internet crashed. Maybe that's what's going on. What's going on? What's going on? Internet crashed. Internet crash. Internet crash. So I will try to keep going for a few seconds, few minutes to see if that's something going on.
Yeah, sorry, my thing froze.
So, your thing froze. Okay, are you back with us now?
Yeah, no, I heard you the whole way through. I just I couldn't unmute.
Okay, so do you see where I'm getting at? Like, he, the way he was speaking was very robotic. It wasn't natural, but that was the intent behind of it, and I think that was very likable. What's your take on that? The whole bar
Yeah,
scene.
yeah. You mean the with the main character?
Yeah, being very like, uh,
Yeah, and that was really well done. Like, again, and Jesse Eisenberg does that well with roles in films. Those are kind of like the only ones he does great at. But yeah, again, it's very accurate to uh, Mark Zuckerberg in real life, and you know how unlikable he is, and just how kind of robotic acting he is, and also just like a message, you know, with being too engrossed into this,
yeah.
you know, like a robot, kind of like, yeah.
It's like I suspect based on that movie, and maybe it's the movie depiction or the people understanding on Mark Zuckerberg that may lead that, but I suspect he may be autistic, because a lot of autistic people are like that. And I generalize a lot because I did study that for 2 years. I studied special care counseling for 2 years, so I have like good knowledge on the topic, like all the brain function and socially stuff and people speaking with each other and interaction and stuff. So I suspect maybe is somewhere in the spectrum of autistic people, but of course he's functional because look at him. He has money. He was very smart and stuff. And it's not negative. Like a lot of people thinks when we say you're autistic, that's an insult, but that's not. It's only some people that use that as an insult that don't really get it. That it's not the kind of insult you can make. It's not something that's negative. They have flaws. Autistic people, it's very sad what they are living through on a day to day, but they have strengths. Like they are really smart people because they are very analytic on a way other people are not, and they're called freak because of that sometimes, and it's a bit sad. So when I say he's autistic, it's not to insult or anything. It's by respect as someone that knows autistic people. Like we suspect my half
And
brother.
listen, it's fine. It's fine to insult him though, because you know he's a piece of shit in real life.
But
That's the
maybe
movie
not.
depicts. So
Maybe that's because he's.
he kind of is. Don't worry. He kind of is, and that's what also kind of the ending of the film is like. It's like, yeah, not, but he has like no friends. He's just trying to send the friend request to at the end and won't accept. He's waiting forever.
But
you know,
here's the thing:
that's
autistic
accurate to
people
real life.
they do struggle to make friends because they have struggle with social interaction, and sometimes that's not their fault. They don't realize what they're doing is wrong because in their mind it makes sense what they do, otherwise they won't do it. And that's why sometimes when they speak to others, others are like, why are you saying this? Why are you thinking that? That's why it's so complicated because their brain works differently than normal brains. And that's okay. That's not wrong, you know. as long as you don't hurt people and stuff. You can be a jerk around, but yeah. Um, so I think it was likable from the get go because it was unique and it felt really like a person. Uh, the main character messing up really hard. That's still in the that's still in the bar scene because tries really hard to like say, don't leave me," but she really wants to leave because she's not comfortable with him. Um, so yeah, after that, I will say I'm not the biggest fan of voiceover, but the one while the main character types stuff on the computer, I enjoyed it because that tells us that there was research made, and that also tells us that that person is a lot in its head. He's thinking a lot. He's in his bubble, and a lot of autistic people are also like that. They are in their bubble and they don't give a crap about anything else around them. Um, so, um, next up, the consequence of social network are well shown, like uh, people liking and disliking, that kind of stupid contest of who's the most beautiful girl. The music showing the different feelings the main character feels. The use of music was amazing in that movie. Um, I thought there was a lot of funny scenes. The first board meeting, every board meeting was very enjoyable. The main character figuring out how people think by speaking with someone else about relationship. He's connecting the dots with day-to-day stuff, and that makes sense. I enjoyed that. Mark falling into sleep midday was enjoyable. The opposite side of the lawsuit, figuring out that Mark created a website without them. I think these people were freaking jerk, but they, at some extent, they were right. They were like the main point of conflict of the movie. Mark, previous best friend, suing him as well, and the reason of why. I enjoyed that a lot. The secret blowing up in the face of the friendship between Mark and Andrew. I call Andrew because I don't know the name of the character. Um, so, I will say this. Usually, I'm not the biggest fan of "you lied to me." We are no more friends because you lied to me. But I think in this movie, that made sense because there was money and the character felt real and the lie also felt real. We could see why one could keep that kind of secret and why the other would be angry at him for doing that. So that whole secret drama aspect was fine. I liked it. The main character getting slapped back by the girl he dated earlier. So that's basically in the restaurant. At some point, they are in a restaurant for rich people. And then he sees the girl he dated at the start of the movie. And he's like, "Oh, you're there. Can we talk a minute?" And she's like, "No, I don't want to talk to you." And they had that whole argument. And I was laughing my butt off because I was like, "Man, she doesn't want to speak to you. Leave her alone." But he's socially awkward, so you kind of like let him do his thing, you know. um, Next up would be the meeting with the chairman that says the idea wasn't stolen. That showcased that at some extent Mark may be right and they may be wrong into doing what they did. It was funny. It's also a way to make it self-aware, and I think it's also very realistic. That's how a chairman would react, I think. The chicken story was hilarious. Andrew Garfield girlfriend waking him up. Oh yeah, that's actually the no, that's not the the French thing? I can't remember. Uh, Both lives of both friend being messed up, co-founder losing everything, the cops ending the party. You're not an asshole, Mark. You're just trying hard to be one. The business destroying friendship. Um, so yeah, don't mix friendship and business. That's one thing. So yeah, I liked a lot of things in the movie. It was enjoyable. There are a lot of things I didn't care about, like that subplot with the Olympics and the team that wanted to do the Olympics and stuff. I didn't care about that subplot. I didn't dislike it. I just didn't care. So, I guess. Do you have anything else to add before we move to the grade?
For me, no.
So, what would be your grade out of 10?
For me, it would be either a 9.5 or a 10. For me, this is top three he's ever made, next to Seven and Fight Club, and this might be my favorite. Like on the surface, it might not be as stylistic as Fight Club or Seven, but I really think this is might be his overall best crafted film. Then yeah, I really love it. Yeah, yeah, that's all. What about you?
9.5 out of 10. I think that was my favorite David Fincher movie so far. Um, I really enjoyed it a lot. Uh, and usually, like, lawsuit and stuff, that kind of story, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I think
Yeah.
it was entertaining.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, I will say, I think, I do think the, two of the three David Fincher films will be covering on next week's stream. I believe it will be next week's stream. Yeah, one of them I don't think you'll like as much because it's a biopic, and it's also a biopic about another film that we'll be watching before it. It's basically a biopic about the creation and everything, and person behind like what's considered to be the greatest film of all time by many, and probably the most like revolutionary and stuff to film. But the other two, I feel like that might be one of your favorites. We'll see.
I think I've seen Gone Girl. I'm not quite sure on that, but
You've
this
seen it? You think?
I'm not quite sure. The title rings a bell for me, but I will rewatch it for sure because I'm not quite sure. So I think I've heard about it. Yeah, these topics will be very interesting to cover. So, I guess we can move on to Zodiac now.
We'll see. Right. Okay. Zodiac. So yeah, this was yep, basically a sort of biopic about the ongoing investigation of all the detectives and everyone with the Zodiac murders and the Zodiac killer from the '60s to late '70s, and then when it abruptly kind of stopped, and yeah, their investigations. And going into this film, I was a little concerned that I wouldn't be too into it because I already kind of knew that the Zodiac has never officially been caught before. It's still an open investigation to this day, so I thought I wouldn't be that into it. Knowing that there's not going to be really a true ending possibly. But yeah, I'd say I was totally wrong though when I saw this. Yeah, I was really into this. I really loved it. And yeah, all the actors did a fantastic job. It was Jake Gyllenhaal, which you saw in Prisoners, and he does a lot of films sort of like this. And then Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, and many others all did a fantastic job. The writing was fantastic. The editing was fantastic by everyone. And the way that they positioned each scene and the pacing of the film, I thought was fantastic as well. And because they're covering a story about all these years that go by, and all these bits in the investigation, and you would think that it would be like poor pacing and poorly structured, trying to cover all this at different points with so many like stamps. But in my opinion, I thought they did it wonderfully. And I also really love the lighting, like in each scene with especially with the murders, like they do a fantastic job with the lighting, with the killer's face, like showing a bit of it, in the shadows and stuff, where you see like his look of like what people describe to survived, like the basic glasses look and such, but not enough to figure it out on screen even. But yeah, I really loved that, and direction was fantastic, music fantastic. Yeah, pretty much love this film. It's not top 3 for me or anything, but it's definitely, I would say top 6 David Fincher film. Definitely an excellent to amazing film for me. I don't really have many flaws with this, because I think when it comes to adapting the Zodiac story, I think it did as fantastic of a job as I think they could have. I don't really have many flaws with this at all. That I think about it, I think they adapted every character as perfectly as they could have. So, and how they branched out the whole story, arcs, and it was fulfilling in the end, because they basically highlighted and went through who probably was the Zodiac killer and who probably would have been caught, but then under those circumstances near the end, sadly, won't be able to know now. But I'm a little weird and unfortunate that they never interviewed that one survivor until later in real life, but well, that's about it. So yeah, you can go now.
So my first issue is very interesting because that's one of your likes. Considering it's a 2007 movie, the lightning was godly awful in a lot of nighttime scenes. I could not see shit.
I mean, wasn't that kind of the point in a lot of scenes, though?
I don't know, but that's a dislikes for me. Even if that's
I mean,
the
like,
point.
what scenes are you talking about specifically? Because
I will
if
be
you're
honest.
talking about like some.
I don't quite remember. Maybe that's around the taxi scene, but I'm not quite sure.
Again, with scenes like that, it's supposed to be kind of like a bit anonymous, like what you're seeing because of the murders going on. You're not supposed to really see brightly, so you don't see the killer.
Or
And then
maybe
in
that's
other
during the
scenes,
crime scene.
Yeah, again, the crime scenes and stuff like that, I think it's all accurate to be lighted that way, and also, I mean, I was able to see quite well with the brightness on my PC, but I don't know. Maybe you needed to like turn it up on yours, I don't know, but I was able to see quite well, and outside of some crime scene stuff and like also the actual killing scenes, I mean, I thought it was lighted pretty well in every other scene, so.
Yeah, next up would be the pacing. But that's later in the movie. Like, in the early stage of the movie, I thought that was fine. Everything was going on, and that felt at the right speed. But somewhere in the middle, until like somewhere near the end, I thought the movie started to get very slow and very long, and 2 hour and 45 minutes. As much as I enjoyed it, most of it, I think that movie was probably 45 minutes too long, maybe half an hour. That's how much I would trim down. I don't say I would cut an entire scene, but I would cut a lot of things, and that would trim down the runtime. by roughly half an hour for me. Um, After that, the other thing is during the overall story in the entire movie. I will say it's very convenient that everyone remember the pieces of the puzzle to solve parts of that puzzle. Memory is a thing that forgets. And the fact that some people really remember very small detail, I don't find that always believable. And
Well, it depends what you mean exactly, because I mean, I think they showed throughout the film with each character that they did forget a lot of things, and that's also why they got a lot of things wrong in their investigation. They kept forgetting a lot of things. They mainly just remembered certain details, like certain names and stuff that I think are easier to remember, and even then it wasn't fully accurate. But also, I mean, when you're like an investigator or somebody who is into a lot of true crime stuff, like Jake Gyllenhaal's character, your memory is a lot better with that stuff. Like, stuff pops in your head easier than other people. Like, like the scene where he heard the birthday. Like, a lot of people would just like that would completely go over their heads. But if you're somebody who's used to looking into a lot of stuff like that, then it's something that kind of comes naturally. It happened with like the Golden State Killer, I would say, with a lot of investigators.
I think they pushed their luck a lot throughout the movie.
I mean,
So,
they showed a
yeah.
lot of scenes where they forgot info, in my opinion, but
So, these are my dislikes. I like the fact that this movie was really dark and it was a mystery I enjoyed. I was very involved in the mystery. The music was good. Killing couples like that was very interesting. The psycho killer wanting to be found was funny. People trying to find out the killer identity. The Zodiac killer killing more. The radio, the taxi crime scene. Even if the lighting there wasn't really on point, overall that was enjoyable. The Zodiac killer playing with the media and the cops was very enjoyable. Robert Downey Jr. character trying to extract intel from the cops was very believable and funny. The reaction to the cops is also believable and interesting. The movie feels very grounded. The main character driving the child himself to work felt real because they were threat about the bus and stuff. Media and cops both finding out the killer broke the pattern. I enjoyed that. It was funny. The discussion with the Zodiac at the TV station. People trying to figure out why the Zodiac killed. The dinner scene with the date. The love interest being very smart. Robert Downey Jr. having an argument with the cop. The new evidence letting us know the Zodiac killer is ambidextrous. Meeting with the guy at the factory, which is basically their prime suspect by the end. I thought there was a lot of funny stuff. Trying to prove the Zodiac identity by matching handwriting. That's something that is made, so that felt real. The cops being tired to chase after the Zodiac killer. The cops helping the main character at the restaurant, but not really helping it. Like, it says, don't do that, but I know you will do it, but don't do that. But it's like, I'm not the one that told you to do this, but do it. I enjoyed that aspect of it. That was very believable. The main character girlfriend, she was very likable. The main character being called by Marshall, that was funny. Main character obsession damaging his relationship with his girlfriend. The fight, there was a fight at some point. I think that was over that. The fact that he endangered his family and stuff. The contact saying he is the one making the posters. Main character leaving in a hurry after getting scared. That was hilarious. I was like, oh, brah, he will get killed on the spot there. Main character going at the police precinct. The main character telling his theory. The response on everyone's face. The ending. So, yeah, I like the movie a lot, even if I feel like it could have been shorter. I think I would give this movie a 9 out of 10. And among the 9 out of 10, that's probably underneath 7. I think 7 was a better movie. What about you? What would be your grade out of 10? Cole? What's going on, Cole? Cole? Cole!
I'm
Mate?
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, my PC's having some issues where it takes me a while to unmute.
Okay, what would be your grade out of 10?
Yeah, my bad there. Anyway, my grade out of 10, it would be around an 8.5 to 9.
Okay. What did you like more, 7 or that one?
I like 7 a bit more, but yeah, they're both excellent. They're both fantastic films. But yeah, 7 a bit more.
Okay. Anything else to add to Zodiac before we move on to the rough movie of the stream for me?
So yeah, this is the roughest film for you.
Yeah, I will say this.
And I'll say that was the one I was talking about, by the way.
Okay, I will say I like a lot of things they did, and it was enjoyable overall, but that was rough, man. I was like 2 hour and freaking 45 minutes. These movie, they drain me, man. Sometimes they don't drain me that much. Like, I will give you a great example for me. The Batman is almost 3 hour, and I never feel drained when I watch it, but it's probably one of the few movies that I really enjoy that takes very long. And I'm one of the few that will actually defend Batman vs Superman the extended cut. But that was rough, man. I will say this, that's funny because now I get one of the reference in one of the Flash Worst episode. The episode was called the I have a blank. I need to see it. One moment. I marked it down somewhere. I have a blank, but yeah, the curious case of Bartholomew Allen. So this is one of the worst episodes of the Flash, and basically Barry encounter a weekly villain that make him old and older and older and older, and now I get the reference. And
Yeah, there's a lot of movie references to some titles or things from The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow. So yeah, this is one of them. But
yeah,
I
so
would say one of my biggest when I was younger, I used to really enjoy this film, and I still think it's a good film overall. But the thing is yeah, there's a lot of kind of weaknesses I have with it rewatching it now, and I'm just not as into it at all anymore. And I think the biggest thing for me is that this film and this story is kind of overdone and is pretty Oscar bait. and which is also sad because this had got like 14 Oscar nominees. It's like David Fincher's most nominated and successful film, so that's disappointing. That just proves its point, but also kind of just copies. I know you probably haven't seen it before, but it kind of just copies Forrest Gump, which is a film we might watch later if you haven't seen it before.
You know, that's very funny. I've actually seen bits of it, bits of the start, bits of the end. I've never seen it from start to finish. There's something in the middle I'm missing, but I've seen parts of the movies in the past, so I know what you're talking about. I just haven't seen the full movie.
Like it's legit. It's legit just kind of Forrest Gump. It's like you watch, seriously, watch Forrest Gump, which we'll probably watch another time, in the future, and then remember everything or rewatch, kind of everything that happens in this. It's literally the same film, kind of. It's weird, but it's just like there's nothing that the film does like per se bad. It's just not a. Yeah, it's just not a, I don't know. There's just nothing, like, spectacular. It's just kind of a story that, we all saw coming, a lot of basic metaphors we all kind of saw coming has been done before. I don't know. It's still a good film. It's still well-crafted. It's just not anything that I would put on any high level. It's not something that really, sits with me anymore that I enjoyed like I used to. It'd probably be this is probably David Fincher's weakest film outside of Alien 3, and then Panic Room would probably be his third weakest for me. Like it's just not but I don't really have. I mean, I guess the makeup design and all that is fantastic. Obviously, the writing's pretty good. I guess the acting's really good. Yeah, I mean. I don't have too much to say honestly, but it's just a good film. You can go.
Okay. Now, I know it's not a computer issue because at some point the sound is really good, and at others it's not. The movie is not even. So my first issue is the sound is really bad because the dialogue is coming very low, and most of the time it's at the hospital, and sometimes at the hospital with the dying lady, the sound is actually good or decent. So it's not really the purpose if sometimes it's not really even. Like if it was always low, maybe that would be the intent, but even there, it's not good. Don't make that. I hate it. So the sound was really bad. The dialogue was coming very low at the hospital for many scenes. Not every scene, thank God, or thank David Fincher, I should say. At another place, the sound is also bad when the foster dad tells his family pass to Benjamin. This is I can't remember that. I will be honest, the movie is forgettable for me. That movie was so long, it's actually forgettable. So I actually forgot what I referred to here. The pacing the movie. At some point I was like, we are like an hour in, an hour and a half, and I feel like the movie could end in the next few minutes. But no, it needed to be like 2 hours and a half, and most of the plot twists are so predictable, and sometimes it's fine to have predictable stuff because that's just good writing, but why wait so long to have the reveal if we already know that reveal? It's just, man, it's rough. At another place, the sound was terrible on the dinner scene later in the movie. I guess this is somewhere in the 1 hour and a half / 2 hour mark. The sound was bad. So the sound was really my biggest issue with this movie. The sound kept coming back, the pacing, but yeah, the sound is just not even. And this is a very story driven, it's character driven, and like what people say to each other throughout the movie is what made the movie interesting. So when the sound is bad, that really hurts your movie. When the focus is really what your character are thinking and feeling, and we cannot really grasp it properly because you cannot freaking have good sound in your movie, there's something wrong. Because it's uneven. It's just uneven. Maybe I'm crazy. What did you think of the sound overall in the movie? So I'm guessing now you're trying to deal with your computer. Cool. 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 Cool.
Yeah, sorry. Again, the lame with the mutes. Sorry. What was your question? Were you just asking for the rating? I guess.
For the sound, what did you thought of the sound? Throughout the movie.
Throughout the movie, I mean, I didn't have an issue with the sound. That's because I really cranked it up, like past 100. Me, if it wasn't that, then I would have an issue with it. But there were points where, yes, in the hospital scene, uh, uh, the lady, dying, her dialogue was pretty quiet, but that was kind of the point. I think you needed sort of subtitles for it to understand fully what she was saying, which I had gone for. Yeah, I can understand that issue, but outside of that character, I didn't have an issue with the sound personally.
Yeah, so I thought that was uneven. At points the song was good, at others I'm like, what the fuck? Where are they recording this? they lost buddies. That's why we don't have even sound. So, I had a lot of likes. I enjoyed the idea of the fantasy aspect where Benjamin basically was born old, and as he grew up, he was becoming younger and younger and younger, and that was very interesting. And it was also very sad that he could not have a normal life because of that, and yeah, it's hard to say, but the characters are likable and all, but it's just, I don't know how to place it, but this movie just feels like a movie all about love and growing up, and all how our interests change when we grow up. Yeah. I enjoyed the war aspect when they went on war at sea. That was very interesting. It's also about being parents and trying to give the best life we can to the child, and it was very interesting. So yeah, I don't have much to say. That was rough because of the sound, man. It makes the movie unwatchable. And I think the funny stuff was very funny throughout the movie. Like when one of the guys is like, "Oh, you never had a woman before," and he's speaking to an old man, and he basically was a child in the old man body. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, bruh, that's the kind of humor that worked very well
Yeah.
for the movie, and it was also very sad the judgment he had when he was basically with the kid that was his age, but because he doesn't look that age, he was judged on, and that was very innocent from him, and he was judged for it, and that was sad, man. I can understand like normal people. That's fantasy anyway, but I can understand the reaction of grandma. You're like, you're disgusting and stuff. But it's so sad, man, in the context of the story. Nobody believes in. Uh, Another thing I actually liked a lot is the guy that was struck by lightning 7 times. It's hilarious because almost each time was shown, and each time they did the joke, they showed another time he was struck by a lightning. So we never had the same lightning scene. I think that was genius. And because it's fantasy, you need to suspend disbelief because there's no way someone would survive this many thunder.
Well, I mean, there have been people who survived. Like the world record, I believe, is like 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Poor guy, bro. Poor guy.
Yeah, it's usually people in the South working on farms and shit.
I thought like most of the reveals in the movie were good because it was well written in the story, but my big issue with these reveal they had, like Benjamin Button is actually the father of the girl at the hospital and stuff. My big issue with that, it's how long it took them to tell us that reveal. And like from the start of the movie I was like, that's clearly her father, and that's a story about learning who's your true father, or was your biological father, I should say.
Yeah.
And it's also
Yeah,
about
again, it's a story about many things. Yeah.
it's also a movie about moving on, and life goes on, and I like these aspects. I like the fact that the movie tackles a lot of different topics.
It's also kind of a movie about just being happy for what you have, because it's amazing that you're even alive to begin with, and it's a movie about, like, not really how you shouldn't. It's sort of like the movie Soul, I would say, where it ends in Synecdoche, New York, maybe, where it's like, don't, these, like, academic, things aren't the most important thing in life. You shouldn't think about that as as your priority in life, like your school and shit. You should think about, like the smaller things, I think, appreciate in life. And then, of course, the one you said earlier about, how it's never too late to do stuff, no matter the age.
Yeah, it's also about life and death. And there's also a point where they speak French, and that was good French. I can't remember which French they spoke, but that was good French. So I praise it when people do it right. It's a movie about getting old. Benjamin slowly dying felt natural. So the whole boat side story, sub story was very interesting. I liked the crew of the boat. The fact that Benjamin and the dying mother were both like fucking around their entire life. This was funny and realistic because sometimes you can love the other person, but you're not necessarily with that person because of life. And the fact that Benjamin left because he was worried that he would die, and that would affect the child, and he also wanted to live his life the way he wanted it to be lived. So it felt real. That felt like the kind of choice some father do. That's why some father leave the child, even if it's not always good. But here he felt like he could not be a good father because of his condition and because of his state of mind. He wasn't really ready for that and stuff, and it's very understandable. So that was well depicted in the movie, I think. Um, so yeah, I don't have much more to say. I, as I said, that was rough for me, but there were a lot of enjoyable thing about it. However, there's no way I will ever um, rewatch that. The movie was way too long for me. Um, the other
Yeah,
thing,
I don't see myself ever rewatching it.
the other thing I also enjoyed was the foster mother reacting to Benjamin coming back late after he basically went out with the guy with the hat. Um, yeah, that was believable. That foster mother was very, very likable, and she felt like someone that cared, you know. So,
Hmm.
um, out of 10, what would be your grade?
I'll give this a 7.
That's funny because me too, I will give it a 7, but here's the thing, I said that was rough. Among all of the 7, I think that's probably the weakest with Incendie. It's probably a tie with Incendie. So, yeah, that was rough for me, man.
Yeah.
I see like the effort put into it, that's why I gave it a 7. But as personal enjoyment, I would give it, man, 5. But I know the movie was well done despite my dislikes. That's why I give a 7. But yeah, my enjoyment was a 5.
Hmm. Yeah.
um, so yeah, I guess we can move on to the final topic.
All right. That film. Oh god. Or not
That
that
film,
film.
the Titan.
Episode. Yeah. I mean, I. Well, I'll say is some of the art design I would say was kind of interesting. Like at the start of the episode in that whole place, I thought it was a little cool, a bit well done there. Outside of that, I don't really have any more compliments. Another terrible episode of Titans. What else is new? I don't. Like, I just think it's all stupid. The whole This was just a whole waste of time. I really didn't care about the character and shit and trying to make it back. I didn't care about any of this. What about you, though?
I will say this. This is one of the best episode this season, and it's
Well, oh, it
hilarious.
is, but it's still bad.
Yeah, it's hilarious because the more I think about it, the lower the score gets. um, so I only got 2 issues, but I feel like both issue take off an entire point for the episode for me. The first big issue would be filler episode. It's Gar centric, but I feel like the season could have still worked without that episode. Um, Not necessarily because it's bad, it's just filler. It's really Gar centric, but they made an entire episode what could have been like a few minutes or a few scenes here and there. They made what could have been a subplot in one episode, but that's not a subplot, that's the main plot. That's all I feel with this episode. They turned a subplot into a main plot. And that feels like a filler for me. The other issue, pacing. Oh, bro, that was so rough. I tapped out fast. Um, yeah, I was doing other stuff on the side, literally. When I start doing other stuff on the side, I'm like, Yeah, that's the kind of episode I don't care enough to watch. And that's a huge step down for me considering I enjoyed a lot episode 8. Um, yeah. There's still a few things I enjoyed. Um, so the animal versus the military was cool. The whole action scene was good. I liked it a lot. I enjoyed the lore as well. The music was fine for me. Uh, Gar feeling what the gorilla feels. It gave some kind of Cecile vibe from The Flash, but done better. That's a really bad example because Cecile in The Flash is godly terrible. But that's a what if it was done better. um, Flash and Stargirl cameos, I enjoyed them. I thought this episode was also funny at many points. I will say this: it was enjoyable for me, but nothing more. It's not a masterpiece or anything. I don't have much to say either. That's the funniest thing ever because you know me. I want to defend shows as much as I can, but there's nothing there. It's just empty. Titan, man, I wish that was a better show. I really wish that was better. I guess, except if you have something else to add, we can already move on to to the grades. Because that's all I got to
Yeah,
say.
I don't have anything to say really. Just
this ain't nothing
again,
episode.
I kind of like I like the concept of this episode, and so, you know, the characters. I was interested. It's just it did nothing. It was just filler, and it was still bad. It was yeah. Anyway, my rating's like a 3 out of 10. It was still one of the best this season, though.
For me, it's an 8. But at first it was 9. But I'm thinking again, and I'm looking back at my notes. I'm like, that's a 8 for me. So each issue I got took out an entire point, so that drops to 8. So 8 out of 10 for me. But I don't see myself rewatching that. And it's sad because it's like Titan's last season, and I feel like Stargirl was wasted. Do you feel the same? I feel like she was wasted.
Yeah. Well, anyway, luckily though, there's only 3 more episodes left of Titans.
Really? 10, 11, 12. You're right. Actually,
They
maybe
said
4.
There's only gonna be 12, aren't?
12?
Well, I thought they said 12.
Maybe it's
You
12.
can look it up. Either way, it's gonna be over soon. Either way, same thing with the others.
This season has
Like,
a
yep,
really
no more
low
Superman and Lois after this. Yep, no more Superman and Lois after this. No more Flash after this. All these shows are ending. Besides maybe Gotham Knights, which is sad.
bar. Maybe Superman and
Hopefully
Lois will
gets
be
canceled.
safe. I really don't know about.
At this point, I don't think so at this point, sadly, but I would hope so. But let's hope that Gotham Knights gets canceled, though.
Stop it! You like to roast the show with me. We get She-Hulk season 2.
Yay!
So, man, I hope you will feel better next week. We covered every topic. I enjoyed my time a lot tonight, as usual. Amazing time with you. You are a great co-host, and you felt missing yesterday. It didn't feel complete. DC did his best.
Yeah.
He did amazing, but I was like, Cole, I want you to get better.
Yeah, again, it still wasn't well today. I was just well enough to do this, and because I don't want to delay any streams any week, so
Yeah.
my throat feels like shit, and other things, but I was well enough to do it. So
You still, I respect a lot your dedication. That shows your dedication and your motivation to do this podcast, and that makes me very happy, man. Thank you very much. You're serious, and it's
yeah, well, I mean, again, the main reason why is because there are so many TV shows and movies for us to go through, and I mean, life is short, so I don't want to delay any weeks, so let's just power through it. Yeah, I'm probably gonna need to drink some tea or something after this, because my throat is fucked now.
You are amazing, Cole. So, thank you very much, man. And you viewer, like, comment, and subscribe. And anything else to add, Cole?
Nope, that's it.
Thanks
Thanks
you.
again. See you next week.
Yeah, take care, man. Be better, man. Be better.
Yep.
Have a good night. Bye.